Hello, hello. I am here today with Estelle Winsett, and she is a personal style coach. She was an attorney and now is, well, I guess you're still an attorney. You don't lose that. And now you're a
I
style
keep my
coach.
license.
Do you,
Yeah, I
do
worked too
you
hard to get it, so I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna keep it."
tell me more about yourself? Let's start there.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So I am from Memphis, Tennessee. I still live here. I've got my family. Have two older sisters who are also attorneys, as is my father. So I come from a family of lawyers. My husband's a lawyer. A lot of lawyers in the family. But I am a mom of three boys, and I in August of 2023, I went full time in my business as a personal style coach for women, and I've been doing it for about 3.5 years. But I started off as an attorney, and then I got into career development and did that for a while, which kind of led into marketing and personal style and how you position yourself. So that was kind of the circuitous path to where I am now.
I was curious about that. Okay, so
Yeah.
for this whole month, I've had different variations of like self love and self confidence, a little bit of identity. And so when I was able to connect with you, I was super excited because style is not something that my audience, so I help uh, busy working women lose weight, is what I help with. And
Hmm.
so they don't always know what their style is. Sometimes they're just fitting clothes on their bodies and they don't understand
Yes.
how that that is like showcasing their personality or any of that. So how does style play a role in like that overall perception?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the way style plays a role is that you see yourself in the mirror all the time, all day long. And if you like what you see and you like the way you're dressing, it has this kind of dopamine effect on you. And it can either bring you up or bring you down. And so it's a really great tool, I find, for empowering women when they know they look good, they see their reflection in the mirror, they like what they see, then it makes them feel better, which then usually makes them perform better. So a lot of times I think it's a performance enhancer at your job, because if you know your clothes fit well and you're confident, then you're not squirming around in your seat, you're not adjusting something, you're not wearing something that's super big or super small. If it fits, then you can really be present and focused on your job and what you're trying to say and your message, and not on clothes that are ill fitting or distracting you.
And I know you specialize in the executives, but if someone
Yes.
who's not an executive here outside of work, how would that style also translate into their day-to-day life?
Yeah, style is such a great way to express ourselves. And as women, and as we evolve, our personalities will evolve, our careers evolve, and how we dress can be a full expression of that. And I always help women figure out what's my style preference. You're asking about how do I help women who don't. A lot of times, women will come to me and say, "I don't think I even have a style gene. I don't know what that is."
Mhm.
And it's because a lot of times as women, we're so busy doing for everyone else, whether it's for our kids or for our job. A lot of times we don't take the time to sit and think, what do I like when it comes to style? We just, like you said, we might just grab something because it fits, but not something that lights us up. But when you actually give some time and thought to figuring out what style lights you up, then when you dress in that way, then there's this transformation that is really hard to explain. It's so much more than the clothes, but it's how the clothes make you feel. And they make you feel like you feel seen when you're wearing clothes that speak to your personality, that speak to your interests. It makes you show up in a different way than if you're wearing something nondescript or something you don't even like. A lot of times women will tell me, I didn't realize style is what I needed in my life until I had it. And so sometimes it's
Mhm.
kind of hard to explain the transformative effect it can have on you, but it's about being authentic to who you really are and showing up that way in your power and in your clothes, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. One of your social posts I read, it said, comfort is a baseline, it is not a style. And I might have that a little
Yes.
off on that. But I would say a good number of my audience start with comfort because they're so used to just not having clothes that fit anyway. So if they're at least comfortable, but like comfortable in like how it puts on your body and comfortable in like what it does for your spirit are really two different things.
Yes, for sure. And it's interesting. There's two different parts to that that I'd love to speak to. One about the physical component. I think that it used to be that clothes were a lot less comfortable, and over
Mhm.
time, there's so many more options for comfortable clothes that also look put together. And so a lot of times I try to tell my clients, comfort should be a given, and we can find clothes that look professional and put together that still feel like you're wearing your pajamas. You just haven't found them yet, and you didn't realize they exist.
Mhm.
But I know where they are because I get them to my
Yeah.
clients and tell them about that all the time. And so I think that that physical comfort is more available to us than a lot of us realize if we haven't found the right clothes that are physically comfortable. But then you're right, the spiritual comfortable element is whether or not our clothes light us up and feel authentic to
Mhm.
us. So, that you're not feeling like you're wearing a uniform or something that you think you're supposed to wear, but it doesn't feel like you. And so you feel like an imposter if you're wearing something that's
Yeah.
not authentic to you. And so I think that's that when you figure out what your style preferences are and what really lights you up in style, then it's really that self expression and reflection. And that's when you start to feel more true to yourself.
Yeah. So how do we go about finding our style?
Well, it's so funny that you're talking about that because I have a webinar that I'm talking all about that tonight. Really, it's almost like you need to be asked the right questions and prompts. But once you get into it, it starts to become more clear. And so, what I always tell people to do is try to find style inspiration. And if you really think about it, style inspiration is everywhere. You go to the
Mhm.
coffee store, you go to the restaurant, you go to work. I mean, there are people, everyone's dressed. And so, there's certain times that you are drawn to certain looks over others. And sometimes you may not even realize that you have that. If you're just like kind of head down, like doing your work, but when you actually kind of start looking around and looking for style inspiration, you really kind of start to find it everywhere. What I do with my clients is take them through an exercise on Pinterest where I have them identify visually what is it that their gut instinct tells them that they like. If you create a Pinterest board and you just start pinning items on there that speak to you, you
Mhm.
start to develop trends. And that's what I work really closely with my clients on is really unearthing those trends and asking a bunch of questions so that I can get clearer on their style aesthetic or their overall style vibe. But what's fun is my clients will tell me I hadn't really thought about what I like, and turns out I say I've pinned 5 pencil skirts. Apparently that's a look I like, and I never even realized it. Or I seem to like this style of pant, or I guess I like these kind of necklaces. It's all these things that start to come together when you actually ask yourself, what do you like? And you start looking for it. So
Now how
it's fun.
what would be like I always laugh whenever I watch anything like the architecture shows and the decorating shows because they have like a 5-word name to what that style of decorating is. So
Oh,
what
right.
would be like some names of styles that are common?
Sure. So some examples would be a timeless classic style. So that would be someone like a Kate Middleton or a Jackie O, where you can't put a timestamp on the style. It could have been bought today, or it could have been bought in the 80s. You don't know. Those are those that are never going to be out of style. They're not going to be trendy pieces, but they're usually classic pieces have a lot of less embellishments, so they're going to be less, trendy items tend to have things like you've seen those puffy sleeves, that's like a
Mhm.
trend. um or it's little details on the like, remember when they had the cold shoulders, that was a trend. Like those details are things that make it out of the norm, but also are what tend to tie it to a certain era as opposed to being a timeless classic. But other examples might be kind of edgy, maybe someone who has a little bit of a rock and roll vibe, or maybe likes moto jackets,
Mhm.
something that's like zippers and like fun little details. But it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be riding a motorcycle, but it's like more just like those little elements of things that speak to your personality. Another example would be minimalist. So, minimalist style is one that is mainly neutral colors. So, a lot of whites and blacks and neutrals. And it's just a understated kind of style, a lot of solids, very clean lines. And so there's certain brands that speak to that. And then you got preppy. You can think of like Reese Witherspoon, where they're bright colors and they're fun, like lots of pinks and vibrant colors and prints, plaids, blue and white, polka dots, things like that. So it really is, there's so many different style types and style icons out there if you really start to look for them.
So do do most people dress in one style? Because like as you were talking, I'm like, I guess I would be the moto jacket at nighttime. I'm probably more of the timeless classic in my professional look. And so like I feel like I have, and then like when we're more relaxing or on vacation or like a weekend without things, I'm probably, would you call it the minimalist? So I feel
Hmm.
like I'm in different categories. Is that
Yeah.
common or?
Yes, it's very common because we're all unique. And so there are these little things that we like about this kind of style type and this thing that we like about that style type. And that's why like when I'm working with my clients one-on-one, I'm creating your unique style blueprint because it's not necessarily going to be everything Kate Middleton wears I love. But I might like that she wears tweed jackets. I think that's
Mhm.
something that's really fun. Or I might like to have some fun zipper details, like the moto jacket, like you described. And so really those style types are helpful to show you what all is out there and to see it visually, but then you kind of pick apart the little pieces that make that make your style unique and what you like. So it's very common to not be strictly in one category versus another.
Some of the things I saw on your page, on some of your socials and things as I was looking, was if you have an item that you're buying, it needs to fit 3 looks, I think is what it said.
Yeah. So a lot of times I recommend if you find something you want to buy, can you style it 3 different ways with something you already own? So it's a good way of thinking through your existing wardrobe and making sure that what you're buying is going to um, have a return on the investment, that you'll be able to wear it more than one way. And if you can think about different items you can pair with it, then that's a good investment because you know you're going to be able to wear it multiple ways and it not just be one way to wear that particular
Mhm.
garment.
Okay. What do you, it's kind of controversial. So, especially with weight loss, I've heard so many people say, any body is a bikini body, anybody can wear crop tops, things like that. And so, like, how does body shape play into it? Because we talk about pears and hourglasses and all the things, right? And
All the
so
fruits.
yeah, all the fruits. How does that play into like styles? Is there like a norm that is agreed upon that like anyone could wear a crop top, but maybe you're gonna wear mesh in between? Or like, is there something like to that? Or is it we kind of have I used to teach photography sometimes, and so we had like the general rules, and anything outside the norm we called creative, and it's just your own.
Yeah. Well, I think rules can be helpful when you're trying to have a starting point because sometimes having no direction is more disconcerting than not.
Mhm.
And so I think it can be helpful to have certain ideas of how to dress your body shape. So when I'm working with clients, it's really important to me that I help them understand how to dress their shape because we're not taught that. We don't. No one learns that unless you're just really interested in it, like I am. So I like to tell people, well, first of all, tell them what their body shape is. And I just tend to do it instead of the fruit. I think that gets really complicated. So the way I describe it is you're either hourglass, no curves, smaller on top or smaller on bottom. So those are like the 4 categories. And I just call it by the name because it's easier to remember instead of trying to decide what it's called or a fruit. But the general idea of dressing your body shape is the hourglass is the most aesthetically pleasing shape in that it is fully balanced. And
Mm.
we like to see symmetry and balance. That's just pleasing to the eye. And everything just kind of looks in harmony if it's balanced. And so the goal when you're dressing is to give the illusion or the visual effect of an hourglass. But there's only 8% of the women in the world that actually have a true hourglass shape.
Mm.
So if you're someone who, like me, I have more of um, an athletic, less curved type body shape, then what I need to do is create the illusion of a defined waist. I don't have a defined waist because my hips, waist, and bust are not all that different. Whereas a
Mhm.
true hourglass is going to have like the hips, the defined waist. I'm sorry, the hips, the defined waist, and the bust. So for me, someone who doesn't have a naturally defined waist, I do things to create the look of it. An example might be to wear a long pendant necklace that comes in a V and draws the eye in at the waist and like makes you look like you have a waist, or I can wear certain silhouettes that mimic like a wrap dress or something that's going to mimic the look of a waist. Um, and so really it's about understanding how all that plays into the items that you're styling yourself with. Um, and that also comes into play when it comes to silhouettes. So if you're someone who is smaller on top, that means you're larger on the bottom. You're not going to want to wear a really super skinny pencil skirt because it's just going to draw attention to the fact that you're bigger on the bottom than you're on the front or the top. So you want to do something that's more of an A line that gives you some more room, creates this look of balance. So you don't want to be drawing attention to the fact that you're either smaller on top or smaller on the bottom. You just want everything to look hourglass, if that makes sense. It's kind of
It
hard to
does.
explain.
No, you did really good because it kind of gets into like societal norms of like what we are allowing and then you're not allowable and all of that back and forth thing. But like we've all looked at clothing and we've all looked at people and we know that certain things just look better. But to understand that it's like our brain is trying to make symmetry at all times. And
Yes,
so it's not that you can't wear the bikini or the belly shirt, but
exactly.
understanding that your body type is, like you said, even the normal, but our brains like that symmetry.
Yeah,
So certain clothing
exactly.
will create the symmetry, or you can do whatever you want. And that's your style, right? That's how we say that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think style is so
Nonconformist.
personal.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, Most of the women that I work with just they like that symmetrical the look of the symmetry as well. Like you said, it's just like pleasing to the eye and the brain. And so just figuring out a way to achieve the visual look of an hourglass is
Yeah.
a great way to do it.
Okay, I mentioned before we got on that
Yeah.
I have lost over 60 pounds myself. And
Wow. That's
probably
awesome.
about every 10 pounds was like
A size
something was,
change.
yes, maybe not a full head to toe size change, but I think I went through 6 sizes of bras. And
Hmm.
I know that my audience would love to hear any kind of tips because some of them punish themselves with no clothing that fits them until they've reached their goal weight. And then
Yes.
others just can't bring themselves to spend the money if they know they're going to spend it again when they get further down the line. So,
Right.
are there certain pieces you should? I mean, like ideally, we would say you deserve new clothes at any size you are to fit you at that size. But like, are there pieces that you absolutely should always be getting down the line with, or are there other pieces that are maybe more forgiving so you know where to spend your money?
Yeah. So I personally have done a similar thing. I've gone through a weight loss journey and I changed sizes. And so I certainly understand, how you identify when you're in a smaller body and it's really disconcerting, especially when you go from a different size and you're used to being a certain size. And so I totally understand all the kind of drama that comes up with that. Um, I think that what I always advise people is to dress the current body you have, even if you are going to be losing weight. If you know you're going to, or if you plan on losing a good amount of weight, at least have two head to toe outfits that fit you now. And one thing you can do is a trick that I like to tell people is buy something in small, medium, large as opposed to a number. It's going to give you more leeway. So a small is going to
Mhm.
give you more leeway than if you order a size 4, or a medium is going to give you more leeway than an 8. It can give you a little bit of a range, whereas a number is going to be a lot more defined, and you're going to need more. There's more precision required with that. So that's one way to think about buying items using the number. I mean, the letter instead of the number. Um, the other thing too is I think that it's important as you're losing weight to actually be able to see your shape that is getting smaller. And when you wear something that is bigger, I think that can actually, first of all, not let you see the progress you've made in your weight loss journey. You don't actually see your body shape. Um, but I think that it also is motivating too. If you are on a weight loss journey, if you're wearing something that's really oversized, then a lot of times you're hiding and you just don't feel as good about yourself. Or if you're wearing something that's super tight, you don't feel comfortable. So you're basically telling your body that you're too big when you're wearing something that's too small. And that's not a good feeling.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think it's important to dress what you have now. You don't have to break the bank. I mean, you could go buy things that are on sale or buy things. You don't have to necessarily buy the most expensive thing. If you're not at your ideal weight, or if you are still on a journey, then buy things that are less expensive, but that still fit your body. And then when you do get to a place on your weight where you think you've stabilized, then go out and spend a little bit more money on it. But I do relate a lot to what you're saying, and I hear it a lot from women. Is we always put ourselves in what I call style purgatory, which is I'm not going to invest in my clothes until I get to a certain weight, and that is very punishing energy, and it's not allowing yourself to have clothes, and it becomes that punitive effect, and I think that can be really harmful if you
Yeah.
hold out on yourself that way. But I think then so the question is get stuff that fits, but you don't have to break the bank. If you want to then invest later in clothes that are a little bit more expensive that you intend because you intend on being that size for a long time, then that makes sense.
Mm.
But don't hold out completely on yourself because I think that is a very punitive, like the whole carrot stick thing, and I just don't think it's very effective.
I think I was able to make some outfits work longer that had like a tie
Mhm.
or that had I could add a belt to. I never had the
Sure.
cute chunky belts because of course I never wanted to draw attention to my waistline that I did not feel like I had. But especially under a jacket where the whole emphasis wasn't the waistline with the belt, like
Yeah,
the belt would make the inner shirt look good and then the jacket fit so much better over it.
absolutely.
So
Yeah, belts can
everything
be your
wasn't all
friends.
flowy or everything wasn't all tight. It was kind of all in
Yeah,
between.
exactly. Yeah, that's smart.
So when my mama was young, or I was young, and I remember going with my mom, she had her colors done. And
Yes.
is that still a thing?
Yeah, in fact, it's really kind of made a comeback. I don't think people use well. There are different color theories out there. I have a certain color code that I was trained in, so I don't know if as many people still use that whole winter summer. I think it's evolved and there are different iterations. But yeah, I do as part of my work with my clients one on one. I do analyze their colors and help them understand what are their best colors. And for me, like as I get older, whatever I wear closest to my face, I want it to bring my coloring out and make me look refreshed and vibrant. And so when you wear your best colors, they do that. And when you wear the colors that aren't your best colors, that's when people start asking you if you're feeling okay, if you got enough sleep, you look tired.
Oh,
Then and it can actually, it's crazy, but just the color you wear can actually make you look like you have more lines on your face than you do. Whereas the opposite effect is when you wear things that work well, it's almost like virtual Botox. So I'm a big fan. I think it can really help. And again, I think it's most important with whatever you wear closest to your face. You can wear any colors on the bottom that you want.
yeah.
But I think it can be really helpful. And especially if you're speaking, you're on stages or you're doing a presentation, like any extra advantage you have to feel really refreshed and radiant, I say, why not? So,
I have certain colors that make my hair look green. My hair will take on the color.
really?
Yeah, so certain
Wow.
colors of yellows and greens, my hair looks like like I'd been in a pool that'd just been shocked with chlorine or something, and that it's not my most attractive feeling.
Right. That's funny.
Um,
Yeah.
what what would you say to a woman who they're curious about this style thing and they're kind of intimidated? So, like, where would you tell them to start, or what motivation would you give them?
Ooh. So tell me a little bit more. They're curious about wanting to up level their style, but the thought of it is intimidating. Is that what you mean? Or
I think
trying
so,
to
yeah. Maybe they've never done it before. They've never had the time or the attention, the money spent on themselves. They're still
yeah,
figuring their confidence out.
sure. I would say start by trying to tap into your natural style preferences and where you are right now. And so that would be that Pinterest board, doing a Pinterest exercise and looking for inspiration. The other thing I tell people, look for inspiration on TV and TV characters. There's so many fun characters that you see that you might really like someone's style, and then pay attention to, well, what is it that you like about that? Is it a certain color? Is it a certain silhouette that you think is fun? Do you like their fun earrings or their jewelry? Like what, start to pay attention to what you like and maybe make note of it, and then
Mhm.
see what you have in your wardrobe that kind of fits that same overall vibe. And if you don't have anything, branch out. You don't have to get a whole suit or dress, but you could get some earrings that might be in the style aesthetic that you think you like, or you can get some shoes. You can kind of dip your toe into style in a way to play with it and see how it makes you feel. And the more you get into it, the more you can get more elements of those style aesthetics into your wardrobe. And so I think kind of dipping your toe in is a really good way. There's tons of fun, Instagram. You can find some influencers you like and see what they post. You can follow people. There's that whole do-it-yourself route where you're just kind of looking to see. The only caveat I would have for that is, and I see this a lot with my clients, is um, don't necessarily buy something that an influencer is recommending if they don't have your body shape. So I think that's
Okay.
where people get really frustrated because they see something on an influencer that looks really cute on that influencer. But if it's not in your body shape and you get it and it doesn't look great on you, as women, oftentimes we blame ourselves when it was never our bodies that were the problem. It was just the wrong silhouette. So that's where I would put a caveat is understanding your body shape in the influencer and seeing if they have the same body shape as you. But you can get ideas and
Mhm.
inspiration for colors, for different color combinations people are wearing, for um, just things that light your spirit up, figuring out what that is for you. I think
I
accessories are a great way to do that because it's an
Oh,
easy,
yeah.
they're not expensive, and you can start to play.
Yeah, fun. I last year, you kind of mentioned this just a little bit about things that fit you and your body shape and things. How Oh, well, let me just tell you the story first. So my
Yeah,
brain gets away from me.
that's okay.
I had not ever really gotten things tailored for my body. And so there was a lady that was local and she comes to your house and she was very inexpensive. And so she like took a huge laundry basket full of my clothes with her home. And I just tried every single thing on. And she was like, that needs to go up an inch. What shoes do you want to wear with that? I think I could give you an extra half an inch. And I work out, I do CrossFit. So like my chest and back and my biceps require a little bit more room. And it
Sure.
looks aesthetically fine, but my clothing will feel like I'm always, in a little too small outfit.
Bind. Yeah.
Yeah, binding. And so she took a little bit out just in different place. She understood clothing. So I didn't know you could I'm used to hearing take things in or buy bigger sizes. But there were so many tweaks she could do. And I felt like I
Mm,
had an entire wardrobe that was customized just for me because they were
yes.
pieces I loved, but they didn't feel quite right on my body. And so before I pitched them or, passed them along, I was able to have her look at each item. And so, like the cuffs, she took a ton of cuffs in, and we didn't change anything in the arm, but the cuff fit me better. So my jacket stayed where it needed to go.
Yeah.
And just so many different things like that. It was a lot of fun and not too expensive. And it made your clothing feel like I can tell you I definitely wear my clothes a lot more now that they fit me right.
Absolutely. A tailor is your best friend. And one thing I always say is the best mark of style is fit. And you could have something that is an inexpensive garment that fits really well is going to look better than a really expensive garment that doesn't fit your body well.
Yeah.
So, having those little tweaks, like you said, I mean, most clothes are not necessarily meant to be worn off the rack. That's not. We're all different people, and just different little tweaks and sizes here really make a huge difference. And there's a size allowance on clothes, maybe sometimes up to an inch. So something that's why you could try something on two exact garments that are the same quote unquote size, and one fits and one doesn't. It could be like something as little as a half inch can make a really big difference. And having someone just take that in, it makes you feel so much better, and it's more flattering when it actually
Yeah.
fits your body to a T.
I think especially with the audience that I work with, we are
Yeah,
so used to being quote unacceptable in our body. And then we buy
yeah,
clothes and we don't even think that we could have the clothes fit us well, that it's a clothing problem. We're quick to assume it's an us problem.
of
And
course.
it's just not so, like you said, whenever I've gone to some of the department stores that have the tailor on site, and they're like, well, of course we're, like, try it on. We're going to come measure you. And like, if you're not used to doing that, it's a completely different experience, but you can make that
Yeah,
experience for yourself anywhere. Just find,
absolutely.
find you a local tailor that can take things the way it needs to go.
It's true, and that's another way too. If you do end up investing in something, and then let's say you lose 10 pounds, a lot of times it's very easy to take something in a little bit if you've lost the weight, and that protects the investment on whatever blazer it is you bought or something that was more expensive. You can get those little tweaks tailored, and sometimes you can even ask before you buy something. Ask the store, is this something that's easy to be tailored? Is there enough allowance in here, or is this the kind of thing that could be tweaked easily? And that way you'll know, and it's worth spending the money on if you end up losing the weight down the road. So
As you're talking, I'm thinking about like online shopping has become so popular.
mhm.
And those little sizing charts that they put when you buy it, what recommendations can you have? Because I don't know that they're always still accurate. And so as you were saying, they might have the allowance to them. And so what tips or recommendations can you have when we're buying clothes online?
Yeah, always get your have your measurements before you go shopping online. I do that with all my clients, and all my clients are virtual. So I do all my shopping online for my clients. So I get their measurements and I understand their body shape, and so that was what I use as my guide when I'm shopping. And not all of the sizing charts are 100% accurate. What you can do is go to that brand. For example, let's say you're on Nordstrom's or something, and you find um, a garment that you really like and you're interested in buying it, but sometimes when you click on the size chart, you can tell it's just a generic Nordstrom size chart as
Mhm.
opposed to that
That
particular brand.
garment. Yeah.
Yeah, if you go to that brand's website, they have the accurate sizing charts there, so that's going to be a better measure of that. But a lot of the ones on Nordstrom might be the sizing chart for that particular brand. Those are more accurate than you think, and you have a better shot using those in weighing it against the actual measurements that you took of your body. So you want to take your bust, your waist, and your hips. Those are the measurements you want to have when you're shopping, and check it against those size charts. Look at the reviews, see if someone says something is true to size or if it's notoriously small. That can help you as well. And for me, over time, it's become a matter of just being familiar with how brands fit and which ones run a little small, which ones run a little bit big. But if you're not familiar with the brand, then going and making sure you have that sizing chart for that brand is helpful.
Okay. Is there a size that I know how every company makes their sizing chart slightly different, but is there like a standard when you say fits true to size? Is that to their sizing chart, or is there more of like a common sizing
Yeah,
chart that you're referring to?
that no, that's a really good point. I don't know if there is necessarily a universal size, but I would say if something tends to be like smaller than the average sizing, that's when people say it's not true to size. But it's a colloquial. It's not necessarily like true to a specific size
Mhm.
chart. It's just more like this typically fits like a 10 or this typically fits like a 12. But if something is a 12 that fits like a 10, then you would say it runs small for the size. So it's kind of like a general um, understanding of what a size is. So that's not always super helpful with the variance of sizing, um, between brands.
So if I was to buy a garment and I'm looking at my particular size and
Mhm,
let's just say because mine's usually my chest and back. So
mhm,
my bust is in a larger size than maybe my
mhm.
hips or my waist. Do I
Yeah.
size up for whatever my biggest measurement is?
Yes. If you're getting a dress, for example, and not separates, you want to fit the widest part of your body and then tailor it in. It's
Okay.
much easier to tailor it in than it is to expand. So you want to have it fit the widest part of your body.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
good to know. I was recently last year in a wedding, and that size, it felt like a blow to the ego. It was like double the size of what I normally wear in
Oh,
clothes, and I had to
wedding
do some coaching in my brain about that size of the dress.
bridal things are typically notoriously run small. So that's normal. But yeah, exactly. I always try to tell my clients don't look at the label. It's not about the number on the label. It's how does it fit your body? And that's the most accurate mark. And then if you're going to get it tailored in, it's going to be a different size anyway, but by the time you finish. So
Are there my husband and I will disagree on this every time. And so are there just like fashion no's? Like you just don't wear these two things together or colors together or
I don't really believe in those kind of rules. Um, I don't know if I find them helpful because I think that style is so personal, that I mean, if you think about it, a lot of times there were certain things that were style rules that I don't live by. I don't only wear white, until Labor Day. No,
Mhm.
I just, or, I don't, I wear black and navy all the time together. And that was a rule. You
See,
couldn't wear
that's the
those
one.
together.
I tell him all
Yeah.
the time. Those 2 I was like, "Pick a different color blue, but not navy." They look
Yeah.
I think the navy
Yeah.
always looks like a faded black whenever he wears them together.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why it's so personal. So you got to figure out like what works for you.
Yeah.
Um, but and it also depends. I mean, I like to wear things that actually have navy and black together, like some kind of a
Oh, okay.
print, and then you
Mhm.
wear like a navy or black. But yeah, I think it just it's so dependent on you. And I mean, I guess to some extent it depends on your environment at work. If you have certain dress code specifics for that, and that's important. In general, I think you want to wear what makes you feel your best, and typically that's something that's going to be something that's flattering for your body shape. And like I said, kind of makes you look visually symmetrical is a general guide. But in terms of preferences, it's so nuanced into what people like, and that's what makes style fun. I mean, it's like, what is it? How many flavors of ice cream at Baskin Robbins? I
Yeah.
mean, we all have different things we like, and it's when we repress those that we find that we're unhappy with our style. So,
I saw on your site, and then I've seen it before, and it's like a virtual closet where it has things paired up.
mhm.
How do people use that?
So all of my one-on-one clients get a virtual closet. It's part of my Stylist platform, and it's just an extra service that I provide for my clients. And it's great because it allows me to organize their closet. So they on their online closet, it'll have like here are all their blazers, here are all their tops, and it's just very organized. And then I have a section where I do lookbooks. So I'm putting together outfits for them. So my goal is to make getting dressed as easy as possible for my clients. And so it's like kind of like Cher's Closet. I just have an app. And so when I'm finished working with my client, after I've helped her figure out her signature style, we've shopped for her, everything is done. Then I create head to toe outfits for her, and she can just pull up her app and just look in the lookbook and be like, there's 15 business casual looks, and she can scroll and see what she feels like wearing that day. And when she finds an image she wants, she'll know, okay, it's that blazer, that top, those pants, those shoes, and those earrings. That's my outfit. And it's curated
Oh,
by me, and it's just
like
easy
a
and effortless.
recipe, just
Yeah.
putting together the
Yeah.
recipe.
Yeah. And so it's all the items in their closet from their newly curated closet, and an outfit that's stylist approved. A lot of times people get really nervous putting outfits together. I always say, play in your closet, have fun. But if you're someone that's a little timid and you're not really sure, that's one thing that women really like about working with me is that I can tell you, yes, this is put together, that you haven't violated any rules. There's nothing that this works. You can feel confident that this is an outfit that works. And a lot of times it's that mental chatter where you're wondering, is this the right thing to wear? I'm not really sure. And just having that nod of, yep, this works well. Then you could just take that energy and mental fatigue, just take it off your plate because it works.
Oh, yeah. I know I wear a lot. I was definitely the black and gray, and then I remember feeling like I was going crazy when I started wearing navy blue or browns, and they looked really nice with my skin color, my hair color and things, certain shades. And then, now I wear, like, bright red and hot pink and, some of
Yeah,
those bolder color I have, like, a steel blue, kind of light blue that I like to wear sometimes, and white looks really good on me. I'm still trying to figure out the white, that's not see-through and, the right fabric of whites, but
fabric, sure.
it feels like the stretch is nice for so many things, but then for white, we want them to be like a thicker fabric again, and it's hard. I'm having a hard time finding the thick enough fabrics for whites. But yeah, it's been
Yeah,
fun finding those. And then I sometimes notice like if I'm wanting to feel a certain way for the day, like I will dress a certain style or a certain color, and it's
yeah,
almost like getting a good night's sleep, like taking a certain vitamin that I was deficient in, and it definitely
absolutely.
gives me that extra umph for the day, when maybe I didn't start out with it.
100%. If I'm feeling a little under the weather, you can kind of trick yourself into being more optimistic by wearing brighter colors or whatever it is that gets you happy. That's why I call that dopamine dressing. It's just dress to make yourself happy,
Yeah.
and to put a little spring in your step for sure.
Oh, I love it. Dopamine dressing.
Yeah,
Well, so thank you for coming on. I appreciate it so
of
much.
course.
How can people follow you or get in touch or any of those things?
Yeah. So I am on a few different social platforms. So I'm on LinkedIn. I'll give you my links, but I'm on LinkedIn. I have a Facebook group which I encourage you to join. If you're a working woman, I've got a professional women's powerhouse style group, and I put posts in there all the time about tips and tricks for styling for the office and how to look professional and put together. And it's free. It's called Powerhouse Style. And then I have an Instagram account. And where else? I've started being on TikTok, but I'm not on there all the time. So, and I have a website. So just my name. So it's just estellewinsett.com is my website. And if someone wanted to talk to me, they could find a link there to just book a call with me, or just follow me and hopefully get some good tips and tricks.
And she has really great, if you're listening, she has really great master class type
Oh,
webinars.
yes. Yes, I do. Usually once a month. And yeah, tonight is on, figuring out your unique style preferences,
Yes, I
especially
got
for
signed
women
up for
over
that.
40. Yeah.
Oh, yes, 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 because we want to be fun and sassy, but not ridiculous.
Yes, it's that constant balance of wanting to look stylish but age appropriate, and how do you do that?
Yes.
And so I talk a lot about that.
Oh, good. I can't wait. I am definitely coming tonight. So, uh,
Yay.
yes, and I will put all of your links in the show notes so that they can find
Awesome.
you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. I will talk to everyone else next week. That wraps up another empowering episode of the Concierge Weight Loss Podcast. I hope you found inspiration and actionable insights that will propel you towards your weight loss goals. If you're ready to dive deeper and accelerate your progress, don't miss out on our free 5-day quick start weight loss course. Head over to coachingkara.com/free course to gain access to a wealth of valuable resources, guidance, and support. The time for change is now, and I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Remember, your transformation starts with a single step. Take that step today and unlock the life you deserve. Stay tuned for our next episode, and remember to keep striving for greatness.